Meet your hosts, two CEOs making a difference, Dr. Stephanie Wall and Hope Jackson. Her story, our story, 1 hour of power. Did you know there's a huge disconnect between what we want and what we go after? As women, sometimes we feel unfulfilled and confused about our purpose. And these are just some of the reasons why we created Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power, so that we could connect with other like-minded women from all over the world. So if you are ready to finally feel empowered enough to change your life, come on and join us at Her Story, Our Story. Do you have a story of transformation, of empowerment, of change, of growth? We would love to interview you. Be our guest on Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power.
Welcome to Her Story, Our Story, 1 hour of power. Listen, Hope and I are all, we stay ready. We stay ready, so we ain't got to get ready. How y'all doing, Hope? Listen.
I am good.
Listen, all I want to know is, did you eat, and keep eating on this Thanksgiving? This past Thanksgiving.
I did not. I had a small plate, and that was it. And I had 1 day of leftovers, and that was that.
Well, my dear, thanks to your mama. Yep, your mama that made that cornbread stuffing. That you know we have leftovers. So I hosted. So guess what? The leftovers was here. So up until yesterday, I was still eating cornbread stuffing. I said I'm gonna blame Hope's mama for this doggone cornbread stuffing. I wish somebody would have taken whatever was left over and carried it up out of here. But it was delicious. So thank you, mama. But you all tonight, I know y'all said, doggone it, what y'all got going on? Dr. Coach AJ Nealy is back. The plant whisperer, the super bad to the bone. Miss Everything is back. I know y'all said, when is she be coming back? And she's back now. Listen, we're not going to delay it because we want to get into the meat and potatoes. Hope already asked me. She got questions. I got questions. You all have questions. And Dr. Coach AJ is here in the house. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring her on up to the stage so we can chit-chat and find out what's going on. Dr. Nealy.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome back.
This technology, I was trying to get access and I apologize. I don't know what happened, but I'm here.
But you present. But wait a minute, y'all. Do you know this is what I do? So I've got to share something before we get into the meat and potatoes. Because like I said, I find things on social media, and I find.
What'd you find this time?
Oh, where's my little thing? I found. Hold on.
Must have found something new.
I was like, ooh.
Oh, you found that interview. Oh, you found me speaking. I'm a health and wellness expert, have been really for the last 40-some years. I'm 60. I don't know if I look 60. That is not the goal. I'm a retired educator. I taught chemistry, botany, microbiology to nurses, to high school students. I've worked for Dr. Macy Jemison for the last 25 plus years. I've been around the world a couple times. I've been a pro athlete in track and field as a pole vaulter, tried out for the Olympic trials when I was 35, played pro football when I was 40, 41, got drafted because I was still able to run a 40 meters in 4.4 seconds. But that's the 40 yard in 4.05 seconds. Just really blessed with great health. And just, I have now, if you will, I brag about them all the time. My students, when I met them were 15 and now they're, 35 to 45. Anyway, I have 20 students now who have their doctorates. So they have outdone me, which is what I told them they had to do. They had to finish school and they had to get their own business. And they've done that. They're very.
Wow. Let's talk about Hold up. Who are these people? Let's talk about you with 20 students with PhDs. I want to jump onto that 10, 2, 3 seconds. Okay, I was just telling Hope, one of the things I am also as my professor with our local university. And one of the things that we have to do is, which is a good thing, is a requirement of all the professors, because they're going to make sure that everybody's operating the same, and if the students are getting the best quality of everything, is they want us to take it's called Rock Solid Coaching Program, the Rock Solid Coaching Method. We all have to be certified in it. And so I was like, hey, I ain't turned down nothing but a blanket, and it's all in my lane. It's all in my lane. I'm like, what? You pay? I'm in. And what I loved about it most was that it asked you what's your teaching philosophy. And when I was, writing about why I'm passionate about what I do, that brings people to you. You are so passionate about what it is that you do. Mm-hmm. You are, every area of your life you are passionate about. It is what you do. And the fact that, they say great leaders make great leaders. They create. Yep. So Miss PhD already, doctor, right? You are just creating more magnificence, more excellence. And so I just want to applaud you and thank you for being a beacon for the rest of us to follow, because it's important that we have people that have already done the work to say, listen, and not to say, because there's some people that do it. They're like, I did it. Yes, I did it. Right. But you are saying, come on. Yeah. I did it. It can be done. You listen, you want to do it or not? You want to do this? Let's do it. That's your philosophy. That's when I think of you, that's what I think. Dr. Nealy is like, Coach Nealy is like, come on, you want to do it. If you want to do it, tell me you want to do it, and let's do it. Mm-hmm. That is you, 24. And what you think, Hope? That when you think of her, when you just like it's you're gonna do it, or we're gonna talk about doing
it? We're gonna do it.
And you gotta do it, because if you don't do something, how you gonna get anywhere?
Just do it. It's the Coach Nealy. We're doing it. One team, one dream, one day today. That's been my philosophy as a coach, as a track and field coach. I've coached volleyball. I've coached pole vaulting for little boys in the high school. And I got a chance to work with a former Olympian. She's here in Indianapolis. I may have mentioned her name before, but she was Wilma Rudolph's teammate. But I got a chance to coach with her, and she called me to coach and be a pole vault coach, what used to be Arlington High School, where the Vivica Fox went, and so on and so forth. But in any case, as a coach, you have one team, one dream, one day today. And you say that to our athletes, not my athletes, our athletes all the time. But that coaching spills over into our classrooms, because we have to tell our young people, you can have a basketball in one hand, but you got to have a book in the other. And when we put a microphone in front of you, don't embarrass me. You need to be able to speak well, and you need to be able to recreate yourself. And so as a result of recreating myself, I recreated myself, but only in the image that God sent, in the image of those students that we talked about, that I mentioned in terms of just as a number. But there's so many names of individuals, young women, young men who have their doctorates now, because I told them, this is what you're going to do. I told them that 30 years ago when they were 15. I said, this is what I see for you, and this is the direction we're going in. And so as a testament now, 30 some years later, you can see them. They're all over Facebook. They're all over Facebook, and they're all over Instagram and all of that. And I get called often. And most recently, I got called to speak at one of my students. She's 45, 46. She used to be Dr. Nicole Jones, Dr. Brandy Nicole Jones. And she was a coach cheerleader. After she left high school, she went to college, got her master's, was a coach cheerleader. She got a ring, a Super Bowl ring, and she recently got her doctorate. And her mother sent me a message and asked me to speak at her celebration here in Indianapolis. And so I went, and there's a picture of us. I'm sure it's on Facebook. I've got on the bright pink outfit, that I wear. And I'm standing next to her. And she asked me to speak at her celebration in front of her family, her friends. She has a sister she's very close to. And we were all at Ben Davis High School together. And she was one of my chemistry students. And she used to work on WebMD. She spoke on my internet radio show that we had for about 4 years as an expert. And she just presented in New York. She presented her dissertation to the Health Sciences Foundation. I believe it is. It's a little more detailed than that. But in any case, she has her own dissertation, and she is now her own expert. And she is now getting used to being called Dr. Jones. But she's healthy too. And that's a part of the conversation here is health and wellness. I really wanted to be sure we opened up that conversation and talk about health and wellness for 2023. And as we talk about that, I live on, there you go. I live on eating for my blood type has worked for me. That is not necessarily for everybody, but I had a lifestyle. I have a lifestyle that I lived long before that came along.
Wait a minute, Dr. Neal.
Yes.
Yes. You hold tight. I want you to hold that.
Yes.
Okay, so because listen. All right.
Taking notes.
You know I got my pen. You see, I got my pens going on.
I got you. Miss Hope, you taking notes.
Right.
Miss Hope, taking
notes.
You know
she over there taking copious notes. So this one, I want to back up for a minute here.
Yep.
One, you
mentioned
an internet radio show.
All this hair, I'm healthy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, an internet radio show. What was that about? What was the show?
I used to be, I'm an MLM. I've done, multi-level marketing. And a part of that, I served as the subject matter expert in health and wellness once they heard me talk one time. That was almost 8 years ago. So it was a conference call, okay? And the conference call used to draw like 50 to 100 people. But I would come on Tuesday, and it was health and wellness, the vitamin call, and I was on Tuesday. And every time I would talk 10 minutes or less, just like a TED Talk, 10 minutes or less. I'd make 3 points. Now, first of all, second of all, third of all. And then I'd back it up with some reference kinds of pieces, and people would be, Googling what I was saying, like, oh my gosh, you're saying exactly what I found in the dictionary. Well, yeah, of course, I'm a science teacher. You should be finding what I'm saying. You should be exactly as it is. In any case,
Sabrina said, what's the life? She wants you to give the lifestyle formula.
What's the lifestyle? Well, I'll do that. Hold on, the lifestyle formula.
Okay, that's right. Hold on, Dr. Katrina. Hold on.
Yeah, let me finish. Let me kind of finish. You wanted me to answer the question about the radio show. So as a result of being on the conference call, it went from 50 to 100 people, sometimes to 700 to 1,000 people on the conference call on Tuesday, waiting to hear me speak. And so as a result of doing that, there was another lady who was going to go on vacation who had a high position in the company at the time. Everybody since left that company, but the health and wellness has not changed. Okay. And she was a pro boxer. And you can Google her. She's amazing. She just got inducted into the Pro Boxing International Women's Hall of Fame last year. She was in 2 different weight classes. Anyway, we met as a result of both having health and wellness in our background. And so she was speaking on the call. She was to go on vacation for 2 weeks. I said, can I sub for you? And so they let me do a, introductory kind of conversation, and it went over really well. And so I ended up staying on as a co-presenter with her. From that, people kept hearing, and they said, oh my God, y'all would be great. So we moved into an internet radio show. And I became a guest on Miss Connie Reeves. She's out of Las Vegas now. She's also an MLM person. And I became a subject matter expert on her radio show. Then we did another radio show that was an extension from that conference call. So by people hearing my voice and hearing the information and answering the questions and following up, just like how I met you, I followed up. You all asked questions, I followed up. You asked questions, I followed up. Same situation. And so it grew into an internet radio show for about 4 years. And it imparted all kinds of information. So I talked about some of the formulas I use to stay healthy. Okay. And so now you want to go back. So we're there. So let's go back to the tab. So if you'll come back, and we'll go back to the tab that we tabbed about the lifestyle. How did the lifestyle?
Yes.
What's the lifestyle? So represent the question.
So now I want to know, because right now, all right, so you have a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
And it's unique.
Yes.
It's unique and it works.
Yes.
So I want you to talk about this. So what's the lifestyle formula?
The lifestyle formula. There's a number of things that happen with that. One, let me say to you, I haven't had soda pop, pork, or beef in 42 years, going on 43 years. While I was in college, I said, oh, I can't do the mystery meat anymore. I can't do this anymore. So as soon as I left college, I really began to delve into it more and more. And at the time, I was dating a guy who was a pro wrestler. His name is Lee Kim. Y'all can Google his name. He's very well known. And he was a vegetarian, and he became a vegetarian, and he made the Olympic team in 1980. But as you know, we boycotted the Olympics in 1980, so he didn't get a chance to wrestle then. But he's world renowned now. He got a chance to, in the 2008, 2012, be the Olympic wrestling coach. But anyway, his diet spilled off onto me, and so I just kept investing in it. So gave up pork and beef and soda pop. I don't use a microwave. I got rid of my microwave a while ago. I don't have one in my house. I don't have a toaster. I don't buy bread.
Wait. No microwave and no toaster. Now let's talk about. Let's back. It's always first it was the goddamn corn. I couldn't have no more salmon.
You can have no. You can no.
You know what you said? See, my sister said the good stuff.
The good stuff.
So wait a minute. Okay, why not? You know, and you might have said it before, but I got to ask it again. And why does Dr. Sabrina say no popcorn? The devil. Whew, I ain't ready.
Nope.
Okay,
no
so
popcorn.
listen.
Yeah, I'm beef.
But why no microwave? Now, are you gonna tell me it's the range?
I'm gonna give you science.
Oh, give me this.
Microwave.
You are a scientist. Give it to me.
Give you science in the microwave. So when you talk about waves, okay, sound waves are really big. You know, like the woofers in the back of those cars, and we pull up next to you, and you're listening to your favorite. I'm listening to my favorite music, and then the kids, boom, 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 and I don't know what that is. To me, it's noise. God bless the kids with the noise. But it used to be jazz, and it used to be rock, and it used to make sense. But it's a boom, 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 boom. So those are sound waves. Those are really big. But as you get to the smaller ones, okay, and you get down to the really tiny ones, the gammas and the X-rays, well, there's X-rays, and then there's the waves that are in those microwaves, micro, small, nanos, even smaller. Well, they nuke your food, okay? They take all the nutrients out of the food. Oh, it looks cooked. You think it's cooked, but now you're ingesting that, okay? So now it's overcooked, it's nuked, and you put it in your body. You are an organic being. You are soft tissue on the inside, okay? So right here is acidic, right? Salivary amylase, what do you call it? Saliva, and it's acidic. So right here in your mouth, you're 2.1, and on the pH scale over here is 1. That's really, really acidic. It's really bad. Over here is 14, right? 14. And it's really, really basic. Extreme basic and extreme acidic are really bad for you. So when we come back to neutral, 7, water is neutral. It neutralizes, okay? So now you're neutral here in the esophageal. Then you come down, you come into the stomach, and it's hydrochloric acid, and it's 2.0, just like in your mouth, right? So when you eat the food that's been nuked and you put it in your body, and now it goes to eat up something, it starts eating you. That's why we call it cancer. So if you don't want to continue to have and increase the opportunity for an acidic environment, okay, and eating nuked food every day all the time creates an acidic environment. Eating acidic foods that are very, very acidic, also do that. Now, water neutralizes. You are 70% water, like the ocean, like the whole earth, 70% water. You are 70% water. Your brain is 90% water. When you don't drink water, okay, and you eat all those foods that are not good for you, they sit in your system like a parked car. You know what happens? You have a parked car on a narrow street, nobody can get through. And what do we call that? Now you're backed up. Now we're getting into some conversations you don't want to talk about. And so therefore, the things that are supposed to leave your body sit in your body. And when they sit in your body, they look for things to eat. So they start eating what? They start eating your stomachs. Now you get an ulcer. And they start eating your pancreas. And so now your insulin is struggling, but your insulin is struggling because you got too much sugar anyway, right? And then they start eating, and then your kidneys can't diffuse through what's called the nephron tubules. Kidneys are in the back, bladder's in the front, heart's right over here, right? Lungs are underneath. So the blood it's a whole science lesson. There you go. So the blood has to cleanse itself. But if the blood is fatty with crud and your body is cruddy and you continue to gain weight and you don't know why, well, you got that parked car. Where's the parked car? It's in your colon, your large intestine, your small intestine, your duodenum is above, and then your anus where it's supposed to leave. Well, the longer it sits there, it begins to eat. Now we call that cancer. Now, individuals find all kinds of creative ways to get rid of cancer. But the one thing I think when you walk into your doctor's office, and you'll come back on anytime you want, you walk in your doctor's office, does the first thing the doctor should say to you, and the nurse's job is to decide where you are in the first 5 minutes. And I'll tell you why 5 minutes. But does your doctor ever say to you, hey, what's your diet? What's your diet like? Is that the first thing the doctor asks you?
No.
No. The nurse looks at you, receives you. What does the nurse do? They look in your eyes to see, do you have glassy eyed, right? And then they look to see, are you paying attention to what they're saying? Because if you're devoid of oxygen or a couple things are happening, you're going to have a heart attack. Okay, there's different in men and than women. Or if you're getting ready to have a seizure, they want to grab your tongue so you're not biting your tongue off, right? So the nurses have 5 minutes, because after 5 minutes, paralysis sits in at 6 minutes. Let me stay on the camera. Paralysis sits in at 6 minutes, and it's not reversible. 5 minutes were reversible. 6 minutes were not. 7 minutes, you're dead. Okay? When your brain is devoid of oxygen.
Wait a minute now. How many minutes now they got? How many minutes?
7 minutes, your brain you are now brain dead. So now they hook you up to life support for however long your insurance will pay. So the nurse looks in the first 5 minutes. Really, she or he has to look in the first 2 minutes to decide how to advise the physician how to care for you. Okay. That's going to the doctor. Now let's go back home. We're back at home and we're using that microwave and we keep eating all that food that's not good for us. It's all backed up. We don't feel good. Our face is bloated. Can't see our eyes. Skin don't look good. We look kind of old. I don't know. Do I look 60? No. Okay.
No. So, and guess what? And guess what else? Matter of fact, I'm gonna pause you. Because I'm gonna show something else. So you know,
okay.
Y'all. I gotta show it just because you
show it. Yeah, show it.
You set the upside
down.
Don't be selling.
Okay. They won't believe it anyway. Did you find it? Oh, you found that one too? Yeah. Upside down. Look, one more time. It looks like this. Try it. Thank you. I think I was 58 in that picture. I do it every year on my birthday.
Yes, and I'm jealous, pretty much.
Are you jealous pretty much? Good. And let me say this to you. The men can't even do that. There will be men that will see me do that in the gym and they'll come up, can you teach me how to do that? I said, sure, but you got to be not afraid to be upside down. I said, well, put your hands up there. Now swing your legs up. And they're caught right here, like in the fetal position. Well, what you do? What are you afraid of? Just throw your feet up. And then I start pushing them up, and now they up there and they're like, I'm a fall. Well, come down. So what I do is I just go swing up and just hang up there and start looking at you, talking to you. And then did you put the picture up where I put the camera on the ground and I'm looking at the phone camera?
No, I had that. First of all, I was still
like
you had me at hanging. I was looking at just hanging. And then you squatted down, and you came back up, and then you swung on down. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead on and hate on her for 5 seconds. I was like, I can't do that right now. And I tell you what I'm gonna do.
Can you do a handstand?
Can I pretend? Can I put the camera up the other way? Act like I'm up there, but for real, the camera's upside down. But I could see you was on the real deal. You the real deal, Holyfield.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Every morning, and I bet you, do you do push-ups and sit-ups and crunches and all that stuff still?
I've been doing push-ups every day, 22 push-ups every day for that 22 push-up challenge that they're doing. for the veterans, because there are 22 suicides every day. Veterans, I don't know if you've seen that
Yes.
going on. So I decided I wanted to participate in that. And so I was doing that while I was doing that beauty contest thing. But the after,
Yes.
yeah, beauty contest thing. I just did that for the heck of it. But it raised awareness for breast cancer awareness, because my biological sister, who I didn't find, she'd already passed away. I didn't find her till 2008, and my biological father had just passed away. They both passed away on the 27th of June. Ironically, my birthday is the 27th of December, but he had just passed away. He had Lou Gehrig's disease. Okay, he was the longest living person with Lou Gehrig's disease at the time. And my biological sister.
Your biological father.
My biological father. Yes. Thomas I. Atkins. You can Google him. He's kind of well known. He's the reason why Black and white folk get to go to school together. You can Google that. Everything is Googleable. Yes.
So I want to ask you with that, because we are interviewing. Because there are a lot of people that. So you said your biological dad.
Yes.
Talk about a little bit about why you use that distinction.
Because my parents that adopted me, and they're in the picture behind me, above my head. That's a picture when they had probably just gotten married in 1952. Actually, this would be their 70th wedding anniversary if they both were alive. My father would have been 97. My mother would have been 92, something like that. And so my biological father is the one that genetically I'm related to, because I was adopted by Donald George and Betty Jean Bullard Nealy. Absolute saints. They wanted children, absolutely wanted children. And they were very fortunate to adopt us because they had means. I mean, they had money. They had means. And so they adopted myself and my sister, Jacqueline Lynn Nealy Finch. I tell her she's still a Nealy. She's always Nealy, no matter who she marries. In any case, they adopted us, and that's us off to my left. That's a picture that was done in Florida. That was hand charcoal on whatever, and they made that up for us while we were vacationing in Florida. We were very blessed to be able to do a lot of things, many things, a lot's not a word, many things at a young age. But in any case, so my biological people, the people who genetically I'm related to, who I never met. Okay, if you can imagine that, never met them. My biological mother, I've never met her. I've never been able to find her. The only research I've been able to find is that it says that she passed away. It's been about 20 years. So she passed away when she was my age, going to be 62, of a heart something, from what I know. She was European. She was Jewish. So I'm a Black Jew, and I talk about that now because I know about it now. And then my father was a chocolate guy. My height, big forehead, really chocolatey, sharp-witted, liked football like I like football. A Harvard grad. He's an Indiana University grad. Okay. He was the first African-American to be president of an all-white student body at a Big Ten school. And you can Google it. 1961, he finished IU, went on to Harvard on scholarship, worked on his undergraduate degree. Not undergraduate, I'm sorry, undergraduate from IU, his master's. And then he wanted to get a doctorate in Middle Eastern studies, but they didn't offer it. So he went to law school at Harvard on scholarship, graduated, and ran for mayor of Boston. Didn't win, but eventually became the first Black councilman, I think is how it works there in Boston. There's a building named after him in Boston. There's buildings named after him at Indiana University. The Atkins Living Learning Center. He was also, there's a book all of you should read, okay? And it's called Answering the Call. It's by Judge Nathaniel R. Jones, who has since passed away. He was a African-American federal judge in Ohio for a very long time. He was commissioned by a president, okay? And when he was getting ready to become the federal judge in Ohio, he asked my biological father to become the lead counsel for the NAACP because he was brilliant at what he did. He also moved on, Attorney Thomas I. Atkins moved on to argue in front of all of these federal judges across the country, not just Judge Jones, to desegregate the schools so that we could go to schools with Black and white folk and in up-to-date facilities. So when you hear me speak and you hear that brilliance, I would say that's a manifestation that's a part of a manifestation of him. I'm sure my biological mother had, but I don't know. It's difficult when you're, adoptions in Indiana and most states were closed before 1974.
They were closed?
They were closed. So that meant that my parents really signed off on knowing who was who. And I don't think they really had a lot of choices in the matter because.
And you never met, you never had an opportunity to meet your biological parents in person.
Never.
How did you find out about them?
Oh, that was horrible. I found out I was adopted in a horrible way. A guy that I was dating, he wasn't a good guy. I won't say his name, but he wasn't a good guy. My parents didn't like him. I should have listened to them then. But he got mad at me and told me I was adopted because my cousin told him I was adopted when I stepped out of the room. We were at a family event. So, you take that traumatic event. So now I'm in shock. And I'm 26, gonna be 27. I'm engaged. And so you take that traumatic event and you turn it around. But it took years from that time to learn the information I know now, almost at, 60, 62. 2018 is when, and then my parents, they couldn't talk about it. Not even my dad. He's the communicator between my mom and dad. Dad's the mushy, kind of be mushy, be your friend, but still be your mentor. And the mom's she's really the drill sergeant, the quarter flipped off the bed when you made up your bed kind of thing. But she was a sweetheart. She wanted to do the right thing. She did the right thing. But in any case, I lost my train of thought. I'm moving so fast.
That you said that you found out your dad was trying to tell you, like, give you more information. It was hard for nobody to talk about it, but your dad did better at it.
Right, exactly. So when I did find out, they didn't talk later on. It took years for them to talk about it. So I started in 1991 trying to find information about my biological people. And it went on and went on and went on. And not until 2018, where actually 2008, I had some legal friends, some attorneys who did some research for me. And that's how I found my biological family. But the search for all of this was based on health, because medically, I didn't exist. All those years, I didn't exist in the medical system in the state of Indiana, if you can fathom that. There were no health records other than what my mother and father were able to create with a Black doctor that lived in our neighborhood, Dr. Jacqueline Coach, never forget her. Her office was around the corner from our home on Berkeley Road here in Indianapolis. And, she made sure we had all of our tests and all those kinds of shots and things. But previous to me coming to live with my parents, Donald and Betty, there was nothing available at all.
So there was. So
they knew nothing, right? They didn't know. In other words, the best way to put it is they didn't know what they were getting.
They know, but they got. So if you don't mind me asking, and you can tell me.
No, it's open because I think people need to know.
Yeah. So once you were born, and probably obviously biracial, and at that time in Indiana, you were taken to a facility. But
right. I was born in a hospital in Greenfield, Indiana, which is KKK country. Yeah, a lot of KKK parts of country of Indiana, and that was one of them. And so the mother, the biological mother, ran out of the hospital. She's scared to death. She signed in. She didn't sign out. She ran out. Literally, she dropped me and ran. I can even imagine that. She dropped me and ran. Well, I don't know where she ran to, but she ran. Either her parents were going to kill her, the KKK was going to kill her, somebody was going to kill her.
When you say ran, are you saying that's what was written? Or are you saying that's what you envisioned?
No, that's the only thing that I've been able to come up with a private investigator, with my legal friends, and being able to piece it together. Because, Black children in that time, 1960, 61, if you were fair like me and you had means, you could get adopted. But if you were darker, the darker you were going to get sent to an orphanage to die. Literally. I mean, that's unfortunately, that's how that was. That wasn't me making that decision. That was some crazy folk making those kinds of crazy decisions. And the divisiveness between us is not okay, and that's a part of what divides us as Black folk. And I don't like that. I've never liked that. I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to the hair and I don't get into all that. Either you got the right heart or you got to go.
Mm-hmm. And so you were, how long? And so you and your sister is that your biological sister?
No. So I got adopted somewhere between 0 and 6 months. The only picture I have of me as a baby is me crawling, smiling at 6 months. I'm smart. and so I got adopted somewhere between 0 and 6 months. My sister came along 2.5 years later. So she was 2.5 when we adopted her, and that was interesting how that all happened, and you know the sequence of events. But no, her mother's Jewish and her father's Jewish, so she's Jewish too. She was adopted out of Anderson, Indiana, and I was adopted out of Greenfield. Same situation. Now, as you go back to Fisk University and Meharry, my father went to Meharry, and my father's friend who lived in a home 2 homes down from where we are was our attorney. He's the one who did the adoption in front of a black judge, Judge Bolden. Judge Bolden's son is alive. Judge Bolden's just passed away. Robert G. Mann, the attorney who did the adoption, he has since passed away. But he and my father were friends while my father was at Meharry and he was at Fisk. And so years later, they ended up both in Indianapolis. He was the one who was able to make all that happen. Dad was vice president and owner.
Oh, wait a minute. You mean your biological dad?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wow.
No, Donald George Nealy. No. Biological dad, I don't know. We don't know. I don't learn anything about him until 1991.
Which is Thomas.
1991, 91, 92, somewhere along there. But so 91, 92, I find out, you know, a little bit of information, not a tremendous amount, just enough to try to find something out. But so many things were closed and so many things were not available and open like it is now in 2022.
Yeah, now you can find, I mean, Nick, can I tell you?
Now you can find
Have you met any of your relatives on your dad's side?
I have biological brothers. Biological sister passed away, biological brothers. And so when I met them, it was a year later from 2008, because my aunt, who I talked to on the phone when I found out, and I called, she screamed, hung up on me, cried. And I said, well, look, so her daughter's on the phone with her, and her daughter looks up the picture. I said, here's a picture of me on you can Google me. And so she pulls it up and she screams, and she said, oh my God, you look just like your sister. Her name is Trina. And looked just like your sister. And I looked at the picture. I said, oh my God, yes. And when I was in school, when I was at Fisk, 1983, 79, 83, when I first got to Fisk in 79, one of the seniors, Terry Eugene Carter, he said, you look like this girl that my brother dated in Boston. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, well, that's good. But who he really was talking about was my sister.
Way.
Shut the door. Yeah. So my classmate from Fisk, his brother dated my sister, but I didn't know. I mean, but you know, it was one of those prophetic things. It probably really, you know, it really was true. It's just, but you know, we knew so little, you know, and I didn't know I was adopted. So I'm 18, 19. I don't find out I'm adopted until 26, 27. You know, the sequence of events, you know, unravel as time goes on. It just took a long time.
So wait a minute.
But all of this was motivated by health. I wanted to know more. What did I have? That, you know, because I struggled with my health when I was born. I mean, I was underweight. That was back then, 6 pounds, 9 ounces. I was underweight, flunked kindergarten, you know, first grade struggled with reading, second grade, third grade, extreme introvert. Health, I was always missing school, 2, 3, 4 weeks of school because I was extremely anemic. So, you know, so I was always on a quest all my life to figure out what's the best thing, what's the best way, what's the best health method.
And have you, from that, learning more about your family, what have you learned about your health, your biological health, if you will?
Because I gave up, I used to have horrible cramps. And because I gave up pork and beef, the cramps all went away. And because I started drinking.
Yeah. I suffered for years, and all I had to do was try.
Try something.
That's word, try.
Try. Stop eating pork and beef, and I became even more of an athlete. I mean, my first sport was ballet and soccer at 4. You know, I'm dancing on stages in what's called Clues Hall here, and it was pretty amazing. I was really skinny anyway, so. As time went on, started playing softball later when I was like 12, but I played football with the boys, 9 and 10 and all that. They throwing you around and all that stuff, and basketball with them because that's all that was available. There was nothing in my time frame. There was no organized sports like now. Like the little girls now can play football at 5 with the little boys. We didn't have any of that. So we played with the boys. You know, I climbed trees, fell out of trees, you know, I was in the soapbox derby. Actually, it's been 50 years since I've been in the
soapbox derby. You are so...
You build
I love it. Well, first of all, I'm still on the fact you're a pole vault coach. You done been to the dog, or like you live in everybody's dream. I want to talk about
and
that.
it all went back to health. It all went back to health. How can I get healthier? What do I have to give up? What do I have to change? So it's been an evolution all these years.
So your health.
Go ahead.
You seeking just your journey to greater health, and you already were even. And it was, which is interesting is you said you were sickly, always in the hospital, but you are like the ultimate athlete.
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, all right, so that everybody, you saw a bit of the journey, but okay. So were you a high school athlete?
No. Yes, I was. Well, let's do Title IX. Let's do that, her story about women in sports. So in high school, I'm 14, 15, freshman year, North Central High School, the same high school that Babyface went to, and astronaut David Wolf and all that, just to throw that in. And Babyface was a senior when I was a freshman. And I was
no way.
Yes, senior. Yes, he was a senior. They wouldn't let his band play at our proms. So he left.
Black.
Say it again.
Because they were black.
Yeah. I have to be honest. North Central High School, let's tell the real truth. North Central High School back then was a mix of three things: rich black folk, rich white folk, and rich Jewish folk. And they were cool with the Jewish folk. And they were cool with the white folk. But the black folk, they didn't want us there. They didn't want us there. I mean, I can tell you stories. I was just writing about it.
Even though you're rich, money don't buy you.
We had money. Yeah, money was no problem, but they still didn't want us there. They didn't want us in the math classes. They didn't want us in the science classes. My chemistry teacher told me, you a nigga, you never do anything in science. I said, okay, Mr. Kunkel. I said, okay. So I was reading that over when I was reading my manuscript on my book. And I remember being horribly upset when he said that to me. I was a junior then. Now kids can take, chemistry as a sophomore and a freshman. And I went home and told my mom and dad. I was so mad. I went home and told my mom and dad. I think I called my dad at his lab, but I didn't want to call my mom because it would upset her. She had diabetes. She had diabetes for 50 years. So I called my dad and he was calm, but he was mad. So when I get home, I tell him the whole story. And my dad said, Betty, he called her, yes, dear, or Betty, dear. Betty, dear, he was mad. You need to go to school with her because if I go, it's not going to turn out well at all. So she went with me to school and we touched base with the counselor and we went and talked to him. And my mother was real polite, real calm. I'm glad she was calmer than me because I was ready to do something else. And she said, Mr. Kunkel, it's my understanding. You said my daughter was a nigger. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get her a tutor and we're going to get her grade up. Do you understand? And first of all, he was shocked. He was shocked that a parent came to school, African-American came to school, and she was just as pretty. Mama, you can see a picture in the back, just pretty, and just as calm, tall, taller than me, and just as calm, just as polite, just as charming. And when she finished, she left. And we got a tutor from Marion University, down the street from our family home. My grades went up. I obviously, well, no, you don't know, but I majored in chemistry and chemical engineering at Fisk University, Vanderbilt University. When I got my degree, I went back and showed it to him. He was shocked. By then, his wife had divorced him. He was not a good guy. But that's just one example. I went math class, went to math, wanted tutoring because I was struggling in algebra, pre-algebra, went to get help. The guy asked me, what was I doing there? I said, oh. I said, okay. That kind of thing at that
But
high
you continue. But let me tell you something. Let me go fast forward. Now I want you to get. I'm gonna scoot you up here a couple of times. Now, how did you guys give them the short version? But tell them I got a couple questions, more questions for you because I got to come back to this plant.
Okay, yeah, we'll go back to that to the sports part.
I want you to tell them about you. Quickly get into how you ended up at the Olympics. How did that even come about? And then I want you to scooch on and talk about you even being with NASA. That of that.
Okay. So the Olympic trials, the attempt at the Olympic trials came in, 93, 94, 92, I officially start as a master's track and field athlete. Not very good, right? Not very good. So I trained, kept changing my diet, train. And one day I was up in Canada at the North American Championships, and a lady by the name of Phil Malky came up to me because I was throwing the discus, I was throwing the javelin, I was running the 1, the 2, ran on the 4x1 team. So discus, javelin, the hammer, I did all that. And she said, you should try pole vaulting. I said, okay. That was 94. So I went on. So because I taught at a high school and I was coaching track and field, I had access to everything. I had access to the pole vault coach. I had access to pole vaults. I had access to a swimming pool because our high school that I taught at was massive. And I just started training with the little boys, the little teenagers. So I'm 33, training with these 15-year-olds, teaching me how to pole vault along with the coach. And pole vaulting was on its way out. If you don't know, in the Olympic level, it was on its way out. People weren't interested in it. They got tired of hearing about Sergey Bubka and his 20 foot 1/4. They got tired of hearing about that. So they opened it up so women could pole vault in the Olympics. So Stacy Dragila was a barrel racer, and she started pole vaulting. Same time I started pole vaulting, but I'm 10 years older than her. So I'm here in Indianapolis, and I'm learning how to pole vault. I'm not going very high, 7 foot, 8 foot, 9 foot eventually. But the opening mark in 1996 was 11 feet. That's all you had to do was hit 11 feet, and you could at least get into the trials. Well, having started so late in my life and being much older than most of those athletes, I kept trying, and I would vault sometimes. And there's a picture of me, and I'm sure I put it on social media of me in a pink and green, not much of anything on, with a pole vault pole, getting ready to pole vault down the street on a made up part of the track. And there's pictures at the end, which I didn't put that part on, of me vaulting up, 10 and 11 feet. And all I had to do was make 11 feet. And I had to make it by a certain time frame to be able to get to the trials. But the attempt was major because, we're looking at athletes who were 18, 19, 22, 23. Here I am, 33, 34. And I would have been, if I had made it in the trials, and if I could have made the 11 foot and 12 foot, I probably would have been on the team because they choose 3. I would have been Stacey Dragila's teammate, which was cool. So that's how that happened. And I just kept vaulting for the next 10 years after this. I was vaulting well into my 40s. I vaulted at World Championships, Puerto Rico, Australia. I had been becoming an All-American at least 30, 40 times. I just recently became an All-American again at 61, running the indoor 60 meters. So again, all of this is chasing health and wellness. And so because you're healthy, you can choose to do whatever you want. This person saw that I was in amazing shape. You can do all these different events, field, what they call the oval and the straights, and then do the field events. So there's track and then there's field. So I was able to do all of that, which, allowed you even to almost be I'd done the heptathlon, not the heptathlon, but the pentathlon, which is done indoors. And then the heptathlon comes, and then the decathlons for the guys, but I think they're going to open it up to the women as well. So that's how the pole vaulting came about. And it was all, again, health and wellness, just health and wellness, the ability to get stronger, faster. And in preparation for that, just so you know, and still try to continue with that, you have to really be good, you have to be able to squat 3 times what you weigh. So I weighed 135. I could squat 3 times that, 390, almost 400. And then you have to shrug. The movement looks like this, and you hold the bar, and I could shrug 315 pounds. I could bench press.
What?
Yeah, I was in my mid 30s, 40s. Yeah.
So I was talking to the classroom because I said anybody hands up, just hands up if you can, right? So let me ask you this.
Yes.
Because you recently wrote. No, my sister said, "Say what?"
Yeah.
Right, Jackie.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, we ain't did nothing. What were we doing? We're talking about in our 30s. Nothing like this. But let me ask you this.
Yes.
You wrote a book. You
Yes.
finished your book. Last time we were in here, we were talking about this book.
I've written a couple. The first one I was 19 when I was at Philadelphia Electric as an intern. When I was in engineering school at Vanderbilt, while I was at Fisk, women didn't get a lot, especially African-American women. We didn't get it. It was hard to get internships, period, right? So I called this guy. I called him, was a brother. I called him every day, collect for 30
right
days.
there, collect, right there.
Back then, you know, I'm telling my age. I called him collect every day for 30 days because he'd come to the Vanderbilt campus and he was looking for interns, but he was looking for the guys and probably the white males. And I called him every day. And he found a job for me at Pico, what was called Pico now, Philadelphia Electric, and found a place for me to live. My mother was scared to death, so I fly to Philadelphia and live in Philadelphia, you know, all summer long, the whole experience. Got a chance to fly in a helicopter, got a chance to go inside of a nuclear reactor.
Did you write a book about that?
I wrote a book about, let me tell you the part I wrote a book about. That's part of the experience for the internship. But the book I wrote had to do with SO2 particulate removal. And it's the coal generating stations. It's the cleaning of the stack with the gas that comes from the sulfur dioxide that comes from when you burn coal. And that's why they had acid rain wherever you have coal generating stations. So I wrote the book about all of the.
Look at you at 19.
At 19.
Again, thank you for letting me know that I was doing absolutely nothing with my life. Okay, so so then, but wait a minute. Then okay, go ahead. That's the audio book. Then you wrote several books, but now did you? Because you were in the middle of writing your book.
I'm in the middle of writing my book. Right. There's three parts to it, and I came up with the title when I was working for Xerox here in Indianapolis 35 years ago, and it came up with "Can I Cry Now?" Can I Sing Now? And Can I Laugh Now? So sing is the last one. Sing is the last one. Laugh is in the middle, and Can I Cry is first. Because corporate America was such an amazing, crazy place in the 80s for women. You know, either you were going up, you know, horizontally, which would probably keep your job. Back then, kept your job and led you to move up, or vertically, you got fired. So I had my share. Getting fired because I wasn't giving up the.
Well, I feel like everybody was, but it was on that climb. It was Xerox and IBM.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in Indianapolis. So let me ask you this:
I was working out there too. I've had a health club membership for almost 40 years.
You was there? Oh my God! You was there?
I was working out then, lifting weights then. Doing aerobics.
That's what I want to know. Were you still working out, doing all that? Okay, so you done wrote how many books now already?
Well, really, technically two. One from Philadelphia Electric, and then a sequel to that, and then most recently the oral book, you know, audio book last year that got transcribed from my YouTube video. Got transcribed, and I'm an anthology with 12 other folk. I was the 13th author added to this book.
Okay. And then you have your book. That
I have my book. There's 3 parts to it. The three titles, and I've done the first 5 chapters of that, and I have to go in and do the next 5 and the next. So it's 3 short books, you know, and the hook at the end. I want more. Good.
You got and you know they're gonna want more. They want more because there's so much more to you. There's that you need a book for each part of your life.
Yeah, well, I'm doing 20-year increments. So
I mean, seriously.
20, and then you asked about NASA. And NASA came about because people ask about being an educator. Well, we started a lecture series here called Stewart, and you can Google this Stewart Speaker Lecture Series. So all those folks that you think are so famous and I met all of them already. 36 years ago, you know, I can name them all. I mean, but I need to show you photos, and everyone's sitting right with Viola Davis over there. I have a series of them. Anyway, we created a lecture series when I was 25, going on 26. 36 years later, still going. Okay, it was called MS Productions back then. There were 4 women and a gentleman, Matt Stewart. Now, Matt Stewart really gets all the accolades, but there were 4 of us who advised and we created the mission statement, who were licking stamps back then, begging folk to come, so on and so forth. From that, so it starts in 1986 in a lady's home, okay? And from there, she's still here, she's still alive. and she has 4 sons, sells insurance. And in any case, so that's 1986. By 1994, Dr. Macy Jimmins has already gone in space. First African-American woman in space. The first African-American woman, the first astronaut is an African-American woman. She just never went in space. She does the psychophysiology, the astrophysiology.
Wait.
First astronaut in America that is a woman is an African-American woman. She does
right there. But that wasn't in my book. Somebody be able to show me that. See that?
Yeah.
Okay,
and I got a sister. I used to teach about her in my classroom. right? I got a chance to go to her laboratory, and I started when I got to her laboratory, we were asked to travel. I was traveling with Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Yvonne Cagle. She is another of one of the 5 African-American women astronauts. She's good friends with Dr. Macy Jemison. And I got to travel with Dr. Cagle because I worked for Dr. Jemison.
Wow, you work for Dr. Jemison.
I worked for off and on since 1994. So 94, we create the lecture series. She gets invited to speak. We paid her $8,000. That was nothing. Now she's 25, 40,000 for 10 minutes, whatever. Anyway, so I was on the logistics. I was on the board of directors for the first 25 years of 36 years. I served my time. And in that, so that day that she was speaking, my job as the logistics person, like when I worked with you on logistics, was to make sure she got from the limousine to the room underneath the stage, to wherever. So at this point, I'm with her, next to her, kneeling down and sitting behind a table where she's giving autographs to all these kids, all coming through. And I'm like, make sure they don't barrage her. Well, she's a tall woman. She's bigger than me. She's been my bodyguard, but I was the bodyguard for a moment. And so I'm kneeling down next to her, and she said, so what do you do? I said, well, Dr. Jemison, I'm a teacher. She looked at me, you're a teacher. I never forget the look on her face. You're a teacher. What do you teach? I said, oh, I teach science. You teach science. You want to come work for me? Oh, I know you do. Yes, you do. Look, all you got to do is write 3 essays. Here's what I'm going to do. When I get back to my office, 3 essays. Yeah, no problem. He said, when I get back to my office in 2 weeks, I'll send you the application. I said, okay. So I had been with her ever since. So I was one of them.
Shut the front door.
There you go.
Y'all see that? Look, y'all see what I'm talking about? Asking. Yeah. So wait a minute, because good. So already at 7:25. Now I want to, because they're gonna kill me if I don't let you talk about the dog. So I need you to go back again.
Yes.
And tell, because you told me about what I need you, the plants. I was killing them, and I did not know that one, I was overwatering the freaking cactus. Who knew? And like the whole water. I mean, I think that who knew? But talk about your business. How'd you come to be in that business? Okay. If there's anybody else that's thinking about even doing something like it,
okay,
where would you tell them to start? And anybody that's even seeking to be in business, where would you tell them to start?
Okay, so I'm academically trained to be a botanist, and so my chemistry background. So I'm a retired teacher. So my license to teach chemistry, biology, general science, all of that. So I was able to run a greenhouse, started in 1999, started that greenhouse in Ben Davis High School here in Indianapolis. And so I learned all, beyond just from the soil up, I learned from the soil down and taught it. So angiosperms, gymnosperms, all of the magnesium that you find in the substances in the water. I mean, all of that. Anyway, so I used that background in 2012, but mind you, I grew up trimming the ivy at our family home and cutting the grass and helping my mother teach me about the roses and all of that. So I had an introduction to it as well. And so in 2012, 2010, I started going to an optometrist in my neighborhood. And I had gone to the optometrist before, but that lady retired, a new one came in, but I didn't go to her then. So I went somewhere else, came back. And when I came back in 2010, she had this one little plant left over from the original optometrist that had that office, who sold the business to her. And I saw it and I said, oh, it's not looking too good. So I said to her receptionist, I said, would you ask the doctor, could I take care of this plant for like $25 a week? And that's how it started. And she said yes. And so I took that plant that had 2 or 3 in one container, and I took them apart, and they became 5 amazing plants that I made look like they were artificial, but they were real. We got huge planters, and they massive. And so then she said, can you come to my house? I said, sure. So I came to her house, and I'm thinking, small house, 6,000 square foot home, 25 vaulted foot ceilings. She'd never been able to grow anything in her home at all. So she had this one little ivy that was hanging off her dear life, hadn't been watered right. She was relying on the person who cleans the floor to water this ivy. That's not going to work because they're busy cleaning the floor and not taking care of the ivy. So anyway, I took the ivy, it was wedding ivy, which means it looks like a bouquet, and I turned it around. And then we started buying, she liked palms. And since she had 25-foot vaulted ceilings, we bought containers as big as me and palm trees and put them in those containers. So she had 4 or 5 palms, actual palms like you find in Florida, in her home. And we had those in one room. And then we had a series of other plants. And I brought my bonsai tree, which started this tiny and it grew to be 5 foot tall, brought it in to her home, and a series of other plants in her home. We had some cacti. And so by the time we finished, after 2 or 3 years, she had 19 plants, and she only had one when we started. And she could never grow anything in the 10 years she had the home. So then I began to do the front, out the front side of her home. And I had been to art school when I was a kid, so I was able to artistically figure out, based on the seasons, what to do with the front perimeter of the home. Then I started taking care of the back perimeter of the home, the back patio, because she used to have all these massive parties, and so I planted all kinds of amazing things and planters on the back patio. So before I knew it, I had the entire house. Well, I had a sign up, and a couple of the other folk who lived in the neighborhood, kind of an upscale neighborhood, one lady came over and she was like, "Oh my God, if I don't do something with my yard," she said, "I can't do anything. Here, come now. Just here's my credit card." I'm like, "Okay." So eventually, by 2012, she takes me to my optometrist, who is an HBCU grad, takes me, Kimberly Darling Forrest is her name, here in Indianapolis. She takes me to a Women in Business seminar. And that's where I learned how to become licensed, meaning that you're licensed with the state. So you have a state ID. You have to have, a business plan. You have to have an EIN number. There's a business entity report you have to do every year. You have to pay, a certain amount of money to have that. You have to have business taxes. So I have business taxes. I have an accountant who does my business taxes versus my personal taxes. I have an office in my home that has the required space, I think 12 foot by 20 foot or whatever, business. So I have an office in my home. So my business started with the office in my home and in my garage, like Steve Jobs and all of that. So all of the tools I have, some came from my family, that we had in our home. And then various of my clients who became clients, I mean, somebody who stays with you 1 season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or since the beginning of my business, which I do have given me items. Either they moved away, or one of my clients who I'd had from the beginning passed away, and her daughter gave me everything that was in their garage. So I've got 3 and 4 rakes and 3 and 4 and all this. And so when I go to do what I do as a plant, I'm a plant artist. So that means I take your what and I make it wow. That's my theme. I came up with that. That's my brand. And so I whisper to your plants. You talk and I whisper. And after I finish whispering to your plants, because you won't talk to them because you don't have a good relationship with them. And that speaks to also being in a relationship. If you're married and you don't talk to your spouse, I think that's not going to work too well, right? And if you don't share meals and drink water, that's not going to work too well. Well, same thing with your plants. You can't overwater your plants. You got to rotate the containers if they're inside. You got to talk to your plants. You got to mist them. Okay, they got to stay warm, right? And then when you go outside, if those plants are on the inside and they're in containers, you can set them on your patio. Just make sure they don't get too hot and take care of them.
How do you keep them warm?
How do you keep them warm on the inside?
Yeah.
Well, you put out of my garage. I've got plants in my garage, and there's a heater that goes out there from the home, and I put a blanket around them. I have a blanket around my plants that are in tall containers in my garage.
Like what kind of blanket? Like the.
Well, I can pick up the computer. We can go out there. You can look.
You got to show it to us, because you know what you got to see. Because
Okay,
I'm sitting there now thinking how my husband's gonna be like. Now, first of all, she put a blanket on the dog. Now she get ready to put a blanket on the plants.
Yeah, we
what
can put a blanket
is
on the
going
plants.
to happen?
So right now we're in the mud room. Okay, you can still see me. Now we're gonna go out here. Let me see. Did I turn the light? Oh, I did. I turned the light on. I got to turn the light on. Oh, hold on.
All right.
Okay. So can you see? So that's a coleus. That's a coleus that I replanted in a bigger planter, because the planter has to be as big as the plant. You see the difference, right?
Okay.
And then over here, carefully, let me come over here. You can see it. Can you see the blanket?
The planter has to be big as the plant. I'm famous for letting something start growing, and that's why it's dying. I don't replant it.
Right. Now, that's called the snake plant. Oh, you see snake plant? They have to be watered once a week or once every 2 weeks. I have a reminder. There's an app. I'll tell you what the app is. Here I'm growing wild onions. So the onions that you bought at the store, and they have roots on them, you just put them in soil. And so the mister, and I don't mean mister like you're married. I mean mister like, oh, let me show you this.
Like a spray bottle.
Spray bottle, yeah. Spray bottle.
So you just mist the plants. You don't guzzle the water down. You mist them.
Yeah, I'm misting these every day. Like I mist my face, right?
Do you mist the actual leaves? See, I got
I'm misting the actual. Let's see. Can you see that? I'm misting the actual leaves every day.
And do you talk? And you talk to them?
And I talk to them. Now, right now, these two right here, this one, okay. Let me see. There's the coleus. Okay, that's the coleus. And over here, can you see that funny looking thing? This right here? That's a cacti. That's a pencil cacti. Well, the pencil cacti is reaching out, you can see, and likes the coleus. They've been trying to talk to one another. So they're reaching for the light, but they try to talk to each other when I'm not around. So I rotated the container, and now this one right here is trying to come back around to talk over there. They over here trying to talk to them. Oh yeah, they talk to each other when I'm not around.
Yeah, you can have me up in here. So this is y'all. So listen, we've already said it before. We're gonna say it again. And Coach Nealy and I talked about it last night. See, she does have a YouTube page, a YouTube channel. But what she doesn't have is a YouTube channel dedicated to this dog on plant whispering. And I know good and well
subscriptions.
That I would be like, I got to know what she like right there. Wouldn't you want to know? Oh, so that's what you missed it. I drowned the dog on plants. That's what the problem was. I drowned.
No. So you have hands, clean hands. Now soil is 6 to 8 in the pH. Your body's pH in the blood is 7.35 to 7.45.
Too much
when it gets to 7.35, it's kind of acidic and you're not feeling too good. And that's probably because you drank too much alcohol and now you're throwing up, right? 7.45 is basic. Now you're probably feeling like you're also dehydrated and you're not throwing up, but you probably got diarrhea. Acidophilus alkalosis is what they call it. So when you don't eat right in terms of the food that comes from the soil, that's 6 to 8 on the pH. We talked about pH earlier. Your blood stays 7.35, 7.45. So when they do blood work, they look to see the pH of your blood to see how to treat you. Are you extremely acidic or extremely alkaline?
So you do a running test on the dog on soil of the plant to see where it is as well?
I do. Yeah, I can do that. Yep. Hydronium ion paper, it's called. It looks yellow, but it turns certain colors. Green is the color you're looking for.
Yeah. Look at that. So y'all see what I'm talking about? She gonna have us all with a whole 2 green thumbs up in here. Okay.
And you can grow your own food. You know, wild onions are good for you. I mean, I'll cut those off and put them in my I don't know, egg whites, which I haven't had in a while. I do that occasionally. But I do a tremendous amount of salmon, lots of green vegetables. So you can learn how to cultivate the soil and grow things, keep the temperature as you can keep it as 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Celsius, we call ambient.
Okay. Well, look, you've given us a lot. So now look at us. There we go. 7:37. We went over. So this one,
we always go over.
We did. It's so juicy. All right. So you're gonna wrap us up. I want you to tell them where they can find you, and go ahead and tell them. Go ahead and commit right now to creating a YouTube page dedicated to plant whispering, and tell us when we can expect your your first book from the series.
Okay. Very good. A couple things. One, there is a children's book. I should have mentioned that, but we're working on. We've had a few hiccups with that, and I didn't write it. Dr. Sabrina T. Allison wrote the book, but there are characters in the book that are surrounded by our doctor sisters, our characters in the book. So we're looking for the best publisher to go with. We've been struggling with that a little bit. We've had some hiccups on that. So it's called AJ and the Big Sun Sign. So I should have mentioned the children's book. All right. And we'll do an audio version as well. My book, the 3 parts, the first chapter, again, publisher, working on the publisher and getting that put it where it needs to be. But in terms of it being written, it's written. We just have to add a few sprinkles to that. Am I looking at a date in June, realistically? The YouTube channel, I can start right away now that my off season. Okay. How can you find me? Well, one, you can Google me and I'm all over the place. Plant_13 is my Facebook when you try to look for me there, or the Plant Whisperers Inc. If you Google that, it'll take you there. Anything with my name, Dr. Angela J. Nealy, Ambassador at Large, Dr. Angela J. Nealy, the Plant Whisperers. If you Google that right now, it'll take you all of the ways to reach me. If you want to text me, 317-721-5083. 317-721-5083. I'm good about responding if I'm not too terribly busy. But in terms of reaching out to me, I respond on all social media platforms. TikTok, I haven't really gotten into TikTok, but I do Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Yep, I'm good. I'm good about responding. And I'm looking forward to it's called Can I Cry Now? That's the first one. I'll be looking forward to making that happen by June 30th and before. Again, just working on those behind the scenes details. But in terms of the YouTube channel for the Plant Whisperers Inc. and teaching you how to, raise your plants and start your own business, no problem. We can make that one happen. We're good. So thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for, asking questions. And I hope that I've answered everything that you've asked for. There's so much to tell, and it'll definitely be in the book in greater detail. But hopefully we've left a hook and you'll be interested in hearing anything and all things. But if you have a business idea, jump on it. Somebody will sponsor you. I had a sponsor, and 10 years later, I'm still in business. I still have clients. I continue to acquire new clients, major projects. There's pictures of my work on the Plant Whisperers Inc. on Instagram, on Facebook, so you can see the kinds of work, the befores and the afters. I tried to pick the ones that are most striking. I have so many others, but it's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Wall. Thank you, Miss Joy. I appreciate Miss Hope, Joy and Hope. Thank you, Miss Hope. Thank you for being on. Hopefully I answered all your questions.
You did. You've been amazing. You've been amazing. And so you all listen. This right, and then if you don't come on here and start talking about joy and pain. Not right, y'all know, but listen. This has been a night of just a lot of great information. If you listen to this session tonight and you didn't leave here with, okay, hold on. She inaugurated told she was in her 30s when she started this like for real this journey. And continue going and still shutting it down, upside down, doing 22 pushes a day and all this good stuff, poll voting and still training and teaching others how to be amazing. Out here teaching, look, it's decided, you know what? I'm whispering and talking to plants. Got the plants reaching out for each other up in this camp. I mean, this has been amazing. And it's a woman of many talents. A very brilliant woman who has already met and journeyed and served with people that we've read about, right? People that to us are over there, but to her, they're right here, present and accounted for. So be that person, because to somebody somewhere in the world, you are the Jamesons. You are the coach AJ Nealy. You are the various people. Don't be reachable, be approachable, be touchable. And more importantly, be a service to other people. But shine your light, like Lisa Nichols says, we all have a light. I believe that my light, I believe what's inside of me is, I believe in the Holy Trinity. So I believe that my light is my gift to the world, my gift, my God-given gifts. And if I don't, you don't, and we don't share our gifts, then the people that are supposed to be on the receiving ends of those gifts, gifts, talents, and abilities will never receive them. And therefore, they can't be all that they're supposed to be. So shine your light. And even if it's too bright for others, Lisa Nichols says, listen, ask them to put on their sunshades and you put on yours, because other people's problems and issues with you is their business and not yours. Be amazing. We love you. See you next week, same time, same place, next amazing guest. Again, thank you, Coach AJ Nealy. Hope, let's get with it. Tell your mama what I told her about that cornbread stuffing though. Oh! All right, y'all.
Good night, everyone.